How's it going, guys? So in today's video, I'll be breaking down one hitter on each American League team that you should watch this season. Now, some of these guys might be the best player on their respective teams, while others may have interesting stories or are breakout candidates. Regardless, these hitters should warrant your attention, and some may even acquire some hardware this offseason. And keep in mind that at the time of this video, the season is very young, and this is just my opinion. Anyway, let's get into the video. Now, starting off with the Baltimore Orioles, we have Trey Mancini. Now, Mancini is probably the best hitter on an Orioles team, as evidenced by his stat line in 2019 when he had 291 with 35 home runs and had a 3.9 WAR. Anyone who plays like that definitely deserves to be mentioned on this list. But what makes his storyline even more interesting this year is that he missed all of last season fighting colon cancer. Luckily, it is gone, and he's already played 9 games this season at the time of this video. Combine that he conquered cancer and returned to a physically taxing sport is incredible, and he will be very fun to watch this next year. Next up with the Red Sox is corner infielder Bobby Dalbec. Dalbec, who is 25 years old and was a 4th round pick in 2016, steadily climbed through the minors and finally made his debut last season. If Dalbec is going to succeed in the majors, it is going to be through his bat. While MLB Pipeline only gives him a 40 on the 20/80 scale for his hit tool, they gave him a 60 on his power. In a small sample size last season, Dalbec had 8 home runs in 80 at-bats. And while there are concerns if he can be a solid contributor in the majors, given that he strikes out a lot and struggles with contact, Dalbec is a hitter that you should watch this season because he may be the X factor in the Red Sox lineup. The Red Sox have a lot of odds stacked against them, but if Dalbec breaks out and hits 30 or something homers, then the Red Sox have real playoff chances. With the Yankees, there are numerous players in the lineup who you should watch, and many are X factors who will likely determine the Yankees' playoff hopes this season. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton can each hit the ball a billion feet, and it will be interesting to see if Gary Sanchez can rebound from a horrendous 2020 season. But overall, I think the hitter that should be watched on the Yankees this season is DJ LeMahieu. Over the past 2 seasons, LeMahieu has not only been better than Judge, Stanton, and Sanchez, but he's one of the best players in all of baseball. Since becoming a Yankee, he has finished in the top 4 for MVP voting each time. Overall, LeMahieu will be very interesting to watch this season as he goes for an AL MVP. For the Tampa Bay Rays, we have the logical choice in the man, the myth, the legend, Randy Arozarena. Now, if you've just casually followed baseball, you've probably heard of Arozarena, but if you have not, here's a quick intro. In a classic Rays-like move, they casually acquired Arozarena before the 2020 season, and while he missed a decent amount of playing time during the regular season, he went absolutely nuts in the playoffs, hitting 10 home runs while carrying the Rays all the way to Game 6 of the World Series. From his pure talent alone, he'll be one of the most interesting players in baseball to watch this season, but also to see if he can prove that the 2020 season wasn't a fluke. Finishing off the American League East and representing the Toronto Blue Jays is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Besides his father being a Hall of Fame player, he was one of the best prospects in all of the minors throughout his minor league career. He is entering his 3rd big league season, and yet he is only 22 years old. But so far, throughout his career, 191 big league games, he has been regarded as somewhat of a disappointment. And while some of the disappointment surrounding him is due to the unrealistic expectations of him hitting 400 with 50 home runs, some of the disappointment is valid. So far, he has been above average big leaguer, but he has not been the prospect he was once heralded to be, and he looks like his defensive home is at first base or designated hitter. Besides his talent, it'll be exciting to watch him this season to see how well he can do. And for what it's worth, at this time of the recording, he's hitting 360. Heading to the American League Central and representing the Chicago White Sox is young slugger Luis Robert. Like Vlad Jr., Robert is a once highly regarded prospect who is only 23 years old. There may be even more potential in Robert considering that he has plus fielding and a good running tool. And while he did struggle in September, Robert still finished the season as runner-up for Rookie of the Year voting, and he won a Gold Glove. With this being his first full big league season, it will be interesting to see how well Robert does. Next up on the Detroit Tigers is Akil Baddoo. Now, you may have heard of him and how well he's played in this very short season. Baddoo was originally a second-round pick by the Minnesota Twins in the second round of the 2016 draft, but he struggled in the minors because of injuries and inconsistency, and they left him off the 40-man roster this past offseason. Well, the Tigers picked him in the Rule 5 draft, and to simply sum it up, he went from a guy named Baddoo in spring training to the dude during the regular season. And yes, he may not perform well, but so far his talent has been on full display, and it'll be very interesting to see how well he can perform. On the Minnesota Twins, we have the man who never ages in Nelson Cruz. Age aside, Cruz has been one of the best players in all of baseball since 2019, having a .314 batting average, 61 home runs, and 2 Silver Sluggers. And while the season is still very young, he is currently hitting .458 with 4 home runs. While the Tigers still have most of the members of the Bomba squad, Cruz will be leading the pack. And overall, who doesn't love to watch a 40-year-old dominate Major League Baseball? On the Cleveland Indians, I believe the hitter on the team who you should watch this season is Franmil Reyes. And while he may not be the complete player like Jose Ramirez is, Reyes can obliterate the ball. In 2019, in a combined season with the Padres and the Indians, Reyes went on a tear, hitting 37 home runs. This season, he might break the career best as he already has 4 home runs. And while he may have shaky defense and strike out way more than he gets on base, he should be watched this season because when he does make contact with the ball, which is a good amount of the time, he crushes it with home run derby-esque power. Not to mention that Reyes is only 25 years old and he's just entering his prime. With the Kansas City Royals, we have Andrew Benintendi. While Benintendi may not have Jorge Soler's power or be as good as Hunter Dozier has been recently, Benintendi may be the key to the Royals' playoff hopes this season. Benintendi was one of the most promising young players in baseball as recently as 2019, but since then he has put up mediocre numbers in 2019, and he struggled horrendously in a limited sample size last season, which prompted the Red Sox to trade him to the Royals. If Benintendi can play like the past version of himself and the rest of the Royals team play well, then the Royals might have a shot at the playoffs this year. Heading to the Los Angeles Angels, we have the greatest player in baseball in Mike Trout. Now, for obvious reasons, Trout is a must-watch not only because of how good he is, but because this might be the first time the Angels have made the playoffs since 2014. With Hall of Famer Albert Pujols, two-way stud Shohei Ohtani, and a solid supporting cast of David Fletcher and Jared Walsh surrounding Trout will make the Angels baseball very fun to watch this season. Heading to the Oakland Athletics, we have Ramon Laureano. So far this season, the A's have struggled tremendously out of the gate, but Laureano's been one of the few bright spots to the team. And while he may not be Matt Chapman or Matt Olson, overall he is on this list because he's one of the most exciting players in all of baseball. He has some pop on his bat, but most importantly, he is a cannon for an arm, and he is currently leading MLB in stolen bases. And while his stats will probably go down throughout the season, he is a must-watch player because of how he showcases all 5 tools. On the rebuilding Texas Rangers, we have maybe not their best overall player, but their most exciting young player in Nate Lowe. Throughout this young season, Lowe has already hit 3 home runs and has second place in baseball with 14 RBIs. The Rangers acquired him this past offseason from the Tampa Bay Rays. And while Lowe has struggled with strikeouts during his career, he is a must-watch player this season because of his tremendous power. And even though the Rangers are rebuilding this year, they are still interesting to watch because of guys like Joey Gallo and Nate Lowe. Staying in the same state, we have the Houston Astros and Alex Bregman. While there are many solid players on the Astros, Bregman takes the cake because of his potential and him being in his prime. And although there are concerns about whether he can succeed given the Astros cheating scandal, I still think that he's the best player on the team. Not to mention, since making his debut in 2016, he has already compiled 24 wins above replacement. In his last full season in 2019, he was the runner-up for AL MVP voting, so the sky's the limit for him. And finally, with the last team in the American League, we have Ty France on the Seattle Mariners. Now, France is on this list for one reason and one reason only. That reason is that he is a great contact tool. So far, throughout his career of 359 at-bats in the big leagues, he has put up together a 270 average, but he had a 305 batting average last season. With the Mariners still being in the rebuilding process, France is one of those players on the team that could help the Mariners get to the playoffs quicker. Oh, and by the way, he's an underdog to root for as he played for Tony Gwynn at San Diego State and was a 34th round pick who worked his way to the bigs. If you guys have enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe as it really helps me out, and thanks for watching this video.